Alright, so for this version of our game, we're going to have a ammo clip, we're going to have a maximum number of bullets, and we're also going to have a health bar for our player. So to add these, we'll just click on player, and we'll add them as instance variables. Another way that we could do it is we could add global variables to the world, but it's usually better to use the instance variables when you can. So we'll just click on instance variables, and I'll add the 3 instance variables. We have bullets remaining, so we'll start that off by default at 8. So the number of bullets in our clip, and then we'll add another instance variable, and we'll say max bullets, and we'll set this at 16. So this is the maximum number of bullets in our clip. Okay, and then we'll add one more variable called health. It's a type number. It will default at 10, and it doesn't really need a description, and those are our instance variables. So we don't want to be able to shoot when we have no bullets, so we'll just add another condition to our shoot on click here. So if we scroll down here, we want to compare two values, and we want to just check to make sure that bullets remaining is greater than 0. So we can only shoot if we have more than one bullet, and then on our shoot condition here, we'll add an action to subtract from our bullets remaining, so that every time we shoot, we subtract 1 from our bullets remaining. And so then when we play our game, we're only able to shoot 8 bullets, and then notice how I'm clicking and nothing is coming out? That's because our bullets remaining is 0. So next up, what we want to do is we want to add some risk to this game. So what we want to check next is if the player collides with a bullet. So in other words, if a bullet hits a player, then we want to subtract from the player's health a certain amount. So let's just say 3 is an arbitrary amount. You could also set this to be based on the speed of the player. For now, 3 is fine. Alright, so 8 bullets isn't going to last us very long in this world. So what we're going to add next is we're going to add an ammo pack. And I'll put a link to the sprite that I'm going to use in the description below. But I'll go ahead and I'll add a new object type. You know the drill. Sprite, put it anywhere in our world, and we'll load up our ammo.png. Perfect. It even already has our collision polygons. We'll make sure to set our origin, and it's already set for us, so that's good. And that should be all that we need to do in this editor. Perfect. It looks great. We'll just make sure that we name this bullet pickup, and we'll be able to replenish our bullets from here. So we'll add an instance variable for the number of bullets that will replenish. We'll call this ammo, and we'll say by default we'll give them 3 bullets. So then we need to add the player on collision with our bullet pickup. So we'll choose our player on collision with our bullet pickup. We want to add the ammo pickup to our ammo. So we want to add that 3 from our bullet pickup to our player's ammo. So we'll say player add 2 bullets remaining, and rather than choosing a set variable like 3, we can just choose our bullet pickup dot ammo. And so that way, when we define different bullet pickups in the world, we can set a different amount of ammo for different pickups. We also want to destroy the bullet pickups so that our player doesn't cheat the system and get a million different bullets. We also want to destroy the bullet pickup, so we'll add an action to destroy our bullet pickup, and in the future we could even play a sound here as well. So next up, we want to cap our number of bullets to our maximum number of bullets. So what we'll do is we will, on our player object, we will compare an instance variable with another instance variable, so we can compare bullets remaining is greater than or equal to player.max bullets. So the current player is max bullets. This actually needs to be greater than player.max bullets. If we wanted to, we could make upgrades that increase the max bullets for the player. And if this is true, then we'll just set it back to max bullets. And then what we'll do is we'll add an action to say set the bullets remaining to our max bullets. So we'll set value bullets remaining to player.max bullets. This is just a way of capping our current number of bullets that are remaining to our maximum number of bullets that are remaining, so that it will never be able to go over that value, because this will just check that. One thing we missed is when we collide with our bullet, we also want to make sure that we remove the bullet from the world by destroying it. Perfect. So we almost have a playable game here. If we start the game, our bullets bounce around the world, and it's got a pretty cool mechanic here, and we have a maximum number of bullets. So once we shoot over 8 bullets, then we can no longer shoot any bullets, but we can pick up a pickup, or an ammo pickup, and we can start shooting again. But we can only shoot up to 3 because that's what our ammo pickup gave us. It would be really nice if we could have an overlay of how many bullets we had remaining, as well as health that might have gotten deducted because we hit ourselves with bullets. So let's add a UI to our game. So I'm just going to go back to level 1 here, and I'm going to hide all of these other layers except for the UI layer. So our UI will only be shown on the top here, and for the UI to remain the same throughout the whole game, we just have to set this parallax to 0 by 0, and that will keep the UI always on top of our screen no matter where we are in the level. So I'm also going to create a new subfolder here for all of our UI elements. I'll just call this UI as a subfolder, and I'll create our ammo indicator. So rather than a sprite this time, we'll create a text, and we'll call this ammo, and we'll insert it in the top left here. We'll set the color to something orangey, orangish yellowish, and we'll also change the font to something like impact. Perfect. So then our ammo will look something like this. We have 16 out of 16 bullets remaining, then it will show 16 out of 16. Next we want a health bar, and I'm going off of Zelda inspiration here. We're going to use a tiled background for this health bar, and we'll insert it and put it on the top here again. I have also included the heart icon that I'm going to use here. So I'm just going to use this 16 by 16 pixel art heart, and I'm just going to resize the canvas. I'm going to line it at the top left, and I'm going to increase the width by 2, and then I'm just going to center our heart so that when we go ahead and put it into the world, it will repeat, but it won't necessarily be touching the other hearts. And so if we have 10 health, then we're going to do 18 times 10 to get 180. So we'll set our width for our hearts to be 180. And that's what 10 health will look like. Alright, and so now to actually put data into these, when we go to level events, every single tick, what we want to do is we want to set the width of our health. So if we search for width, set width, and we can double click on that one, and we can say player.health times 18. So if the player.health is 0, then our width will be 0 and we won't show any hearts on the screen. If our player.health is 50, then we'll show 5 hearts on the screen, and so on. This is just a way of setting the width to be a multiple of 18. We'll also set our ammo, so we can add an ammo action to set the text, and we can double click on that one, and we'll say player.bullets remaining, so the number of bullets that we have left in our clip, and so this is a way of joining these two pieces of text together. We'll just put a slash here, and then we'll join it with player.maxbullets. So on the player instance, we're just getting the maximum number of bullets that were allowed in our clip. Perfect. So if we play this, then we have our hearts on the top of the screen and our bullets on the left of the screen. And as I click, then our bullets go down, and if I hit myself accidentally, then our health decreases as well. I'm just going to lower the scale of this text and pretty that UI up a little bit more. So I can set the size to 9, and we'll just lower everything a little bit more. That seems to be good. Alright, so we'll hide our UI layer, and we'll show our main walls and our background. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add AI to our armed guard. So we'll open up our enemies subfolder and click on the armed guard object type. This guard is just going to stay in one spot and aim at the player. He won't be moving around, but in the next video we'll be doing a walking guard AI, and he'll move around as well as shoot at the player. So we need to add 2 behaviors here. We'll add the turret behavior, and we'll add the line of sight general behavior. And that's all that we need. So we'll enable predictive aim, so that will make the game a little bit harder because the guards will actually know where you're moving towards. And we'll just increase the projectile speed to be about an average of what it will be. So So even 750 is between 1000 and 500, which is what we set our bullets at. So what we'll be doing is when this turret behavior is ready to shoot, we'll be adding a bullet to the end of the gun here, and it will do this once per second. That's our rate of fire. If we want them to shoot a little bit less often, we can increase this. So this guy can only shoot one time every 2 seconds, and he'll rotate towards the player so that it looks like he's actually aiming himself towards them. We'll also add a health instance variable, so that it might take them multiple shots to go down, and we'll also decrease the range here to about 1500 on the line of sight. So we'll go over to our level events and we'll code in this behavior. So the first thing that we need to do is when our guard is created, so that could be on the start of the level, it could be from another action, we want to add the turret target of player to them. So we'll find our armed guard, and on created, we want to say start targeting the player. So we'll find our armed guard again, and then we'll scroll down to our turret here, and we want to say add object to target, and we'll just add the player object to our target. So this is just essentially adding that player to the list of people that this guard is going to shoot. And so next we want to see when the turret says it's okay for the guard to start shooting at the player, we will scroll down here and we'll find the onShoot method. So this is when the turret says, all right, yeah, there's a target in range, he's on our screen and we're ready to shoot him, go for it. So this is exactly when we would spawn the bullet. So what we'll do is we'll take our armed guard and we'll spawn another object. That object will be our bullet on the main layer at image point 1. So that was the end of the gun that we had set up when we created the armed guard. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to check if it's in the line of sight of the armed guard. So in order for the armed guard to actually start shooting at the player, we want to make sure that they can see them, there's nothing in the way. So we can do that by right-clicking on our onTurret shoot condition here, and we'll add another condition, and we'll check if the enemy, so our armed guard, has line of sight to object, and that object that he needs line of sight to is the player. And then we'll hit done. So now our armed guard, when he's ready to shoot and he has line of sight to the player, we'll spawn a bullet that will go towards the player. Alright, so let's preview that behavior and see what it looks like. Oh, he rotates towards us and starts shooting at us. Ooh, yeah, and our health starts decreasing. Yeah, and it even starts going even further. Don't worry about why it goes backwards. We're just setting the size to a negative width, so it ends up going backwards instead of just stopping right there. So then if we go behind a wall here, then he doesn't shoot at us because we don't have line of sight towards him. But as soon as we have line of sight, then he starts shooting at us. That's pretty cool. This essentially just stops them from shooting at us. If we were, say, right here, for example, then he would just shoot at the wall, the bullet would bounce back at him, and then he would die. That's kind of hacky. We don't want people to be able to do that in our game. So right now, nothing happens when we shoot our armed guards, so let's add health to our armed guards. So when our armed guard collides with a bullet, we want to take the armed guard again, and we want to subtract from their health a certain number. We'll just leave that at 3. That's what we had for the player as well. So if an armed guard has 4 health, then it will take 2 shots for that armed guard to die. We also want to destroy our bullet so that it doesn't continue to wreak havoc on the world. You could get really fancy with this and say if the bullet's going faster than 800, don't destroy the bullet and make it keep going, but subtract like 200 from the speed or something. That would be pretty cool. And next up, we want the armed guards to actually fall to the ground when their health is less than or equal to 0. And so we'll select our armed guard, and we will compare an instance variable. So when the health is less than or equal to 0, then that's when we know it's on the ground. So we'll disable the turret functionality for our armed guard, so he won't be able to move around or acquire targets. So we'll set enabled, but we'll set it to disabled. And then we will set our animation for our armed guard, to be downed. And then if we check our armed guards out now, then they start shooting at us. And then when we hit them, they are set to downed. The reason that he probably just disappeared there, we didn't destroy him, but if we check out our armed guard again, this is a good example, because this has happened to me a few times with this, is our origin might not be set correctly. And that's the case. If we look here, our origin is somewhere way off in outer space. We can just make sure that it's right in the center of our animation. So let's try that again. We'll try and down our enemy here, and there he is. He's right on the floor. He's fallen. Uh-oh. Alright, so now he is on top of us. We want to make sure that our player is always on top of everything that's on the ground. So what we can do to fix that is we can check our player, or we can select our player, and we'll just set their set elevation to 1. And then we can play the game again. Boom. Perfect. Now he's always on top. I think this is shaping up to be a pretty swifty game.